Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome all of our attendees who have joined us on YouTube for our webinar that is on values now more essential than ever. A note to the attendees on YouTube, we will be conducting a question and answer session towards the end of today's panel discussion. So if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box on YouTube to share your questions. On your behalf, I will direct those questions to our specific speakers. Alternatively, you could also send us an email with your questions to either Mr. Vivek Shastri or to me directly. And please subscribe to the Creating Values YouTube channel so that you could receive notifications about our upcoming webinars as well as other events. So with that, let's begin today's session. A quick introduction, first of all, about me. I'm Sujata, the Associate Director of Creating Values. And then a quick introduction about Creating Values. We are a management consulting firm that provides strategic advisory services to companies across industries. The consulting areas in which we operate include people and culture, which is our HR advisory arm. Technology and risk is our IT consulting arm. Business strategy consulting, brand strategy consulting, and executive search services. During our 7 years of operations, we have completed more than 225 plus projects. We have worked across more than 15 industries, and we are proud to have a repeat order rate as high as 90%. If you have any questions or any queries about our existing services, please feel free to get in touch with us, and we would love to walk you through our bouquet of offerings. So, post the introductions, a quick journey of the Webinar Fridays, that is, webinars as we call them, that is quarantine webinars, and we've been conducting it every Friday for the past several months. And we start at 4 p.m. sharp as we did today. So these are the topics that we have covered in our discussion. We've always invited speakers that are subject matter experts of the relevant topic in discussion. And so we've had HR, IT, as well as business strategy related topics. If any of these topics are, intrigue you and you might have missed the live session when it was conducted, you can get in touch with us and we will share with you the link to the recorded version so that you could go through it as well as share some insights and learnings with your peers and colleagues. So with that, a quick reminder to all of our attendees about our upcoming webinar, which will be conducted on 14th of August at 4 p.m. We will be joined by technology and business leaders, digital leaders, and they'll be talking about supercharging your digital transformation journey. Well, this pandemic is one time that has taught organizations that you cannot do away with two important pillars. One is obviously your people function and other is your technology functions. So how shall you supercharge your digital transformation journey? That is where we'll be talking to experts and listening to their learnings. What is it that they have currently implemented and what is it that they plan to implement in the coming time. So please join us on 14th of August at 4 p.m. And with that, let's go to a quick introduction about today's webinar. So I welcome our esteemed speakers. Today's panel discussion is on the topic values now more essential than ever. Core values act as the true north of your brand compass. No matter which direction your company takes, they remain fixed, steady, and true. They identify the principles that define your brand's character and drive its behavior. Values is a journey and not a destination. The presence and practice of values has multi-dimensional impact, covering the business front, employees, as well as customers. There are several studies and surveys that have quantitatively and qualitatively unearthed numerous benefits, including the direct relation with the financial performance of the businesses. In Built to Last, Successful Habits of Visionary Companies, Jim Collins and Jerry Porras shows that companies that consistently focused on building strong values-driven cultures over a period of several decades have outperformed companies that did not by a factor of 6 and outperformed the general stock market by a factor of 15. More than 75% employees who love their workplaces state that among the top reasons, one is that the company lives their values and ethics. Another study reveals that a company's core values and authenticity influences the purchase consideration for over 62% of consumers. Thus, the importance of core values is quite evident. Today, we have been joined by industry and HR leaders who will talk about their values journey and the way forward. We have with us Flight Lieutenant Saras Malik, who's heading the HR and training department at Artemis Hospitals. She has more than 20 years of rich professional experience in human resources and administration under the rigorous and exacting standards of Indian Air Force and result-oriented measures of the corporate. She is a strong believer of teamwork. She has management style based on strong interpersonal and human relation skills and has the ability to build a motivated team with a strong customer focus. She's an active member of various hospital committees like Disciplinary Action Committee, Grievance and Redressal Committee, Credentializing and Privileging Committee for doctors and nurses. Our next speaker is Ms. Kalpana Sachdeva, Head HR, India, Kazakh, South Korea, for Lindstorm Group, HR business leader with 15 plus years of experience in inspiring geographically distributed HR team. As head of HR, responsible for making strategies that aligns with the purpose, mission, goals, and growth of the organization and its employees. Responsible for driving functional excellence, ongoing people development, employee engagement, and reduction of operating costs. As a strategic partner, she's responsible to align business objectives with employees and leadership team. We have also been joined by Mr. Anshul Dureja, MD and CEO, Creating Values. Including his entrepreneurial journey, he has over 25 years of professional experience. He started out as a technocrat, then his role diversified, and he was leading 6 roles in his previous corporate avatar. He was the Chief People Officer, managing over 6,000 employees globally for the company. He started Creating Values with the aim to enable the enablers, that is the business, IT, and HR leaders. He's a sought after speaker at multiple forums. He's also a happiness coach. It is my privilege to interact with these esteemed dignitaries and to moderate today's session. I'll be directing some specific questions to our speakers now. Starting with Ms. Saras, and then I'll, direct the same question to Ms. Kalpana. Ms. Saras, according to you, why are core values important for any organization? Ma'am, you're on mute.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, Sujata, for having me here today. It's a proud privilege for me, and it makes me happy to mention here that this is the second webinar that I am a part of. I'm really happy about it. Coming to core values are very important for any organization because they define the business priorities and shape the company culture. If the organization values are well defined, they become embedded in our culture and trickle down into our employees' day-to-day actions. They dictate which behaviors are appreciated and which are unacceptable, affecting the way we conduct business and how we treat our customers or clients, which in our case are the patients and their attendants. To simplify things further, core values are the things which we believe are the most important in the way we live and work. These determine our personal priorities at work and also the company's priorities. These help shape our culture and these support the vision of the organization. These are the essence of the identity of the company, its principles, its philosophies, and its beliefs. Many companies generally focus mostly on technical competencies, but often forget the underlying competencies that make their companies run smoothly. Establishing strong core values provides both internal and external advantages to the company. Just like Sujata was just mentioning, core values help the companies in decision-making processes, and these also educate the clients and potential customers about what the organization is about and clarify the identity of the company, especially in this competitive world where having a set of specific core values that speak to the public is definitely a competitive advantage. So that's what I'm. Should I talk about my company's core values? I would love to. I'm so proud of our core values. So I would like to share the same with you. At Artemis, our core values are dependent on three main pillars of service, integrity, and compassion. So we have got 6 identified core values. We're sticking by them since inception, and they form the acronym CREATE, wherein C stands for care for customer, R stands for respect for associates, E stands for excellence through teamwork, A stands for always learning, T stands for trust mutually, and E stands for ethical practices. And these align completely and absolutely with our vision, and we live and breathe them every day. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Saras ma'am. And it's a nice acronym, CREATE. It resonates so much with creating values.
Yes, values create, it does.
Okay, and the same question to Ms. Kalpana. Why do you think, core values are important for organization?
Thanks, Sujata. First of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share this forum with such esteemed speakers like Saras and Anshul, and with you for sure. So, good evening, everyone. I am Kalpana Sachdeva. So, as Sujata has rightly mentioned, that I represent Lindstorm Group. So, I was wondering that why values are important. I thought that let me just think about what values are actually. What do we mean by values? So then it instinctively came into my mind, or rather, I think all of us are aware that what values are. So what core values are. So these are fundamental beliefs. These are guiding principles. So the values are pretty clear. Like it has to be either a fundamental belief or a guiding principle. Once the definition is clear, then we can go to the next question, like why these values are important. So my co-panelist, Ms. Saras, has already shared so many points. I think it shows that how aligned HR are. So most of the points are quite similar, which she just mentioned a couple of minutes back. So definitely values are important. Why? They determine your company's distinctives, why your company is different than others. Values are important. Why? Because they influence behavior. They shape organizational culture, as my co-panelist has rightly mentioned. Then they dictate personal involvement and alignment. They communicate what is important and what is not. And then the most important part is they help the organizations in the decision making process. So in Lunstorm, we have 4 core values. So one of our core value is responsibility. So when we talk about responsibility, this is not only about a responsibility about myself or only about employees. The responsibility towards our customers, responsibility towards our employees, responsibility towards our boss, stakeholders, and responsibility towards our environment, which is even in sync with our purpose, which is the statement of purpose is very, very close to my heart, and we try to live every day. So which says we care for people and for our planet by inspiring people to shine and businesses to grow in a sustainable way, which is very simple. We care, we shine, we grow. That's what our purpose is. So then our values are profitable growth, responsibility, enthusiasm, and joy of learning, and long-term relationship. So our purpose and values both are interlinked. Then hence whatever the decision an organization takes should always be basis values and purpose. Values determines organization's culture, and we in Lunstorm proudly say that we have imbibed this We Care culture from the grassroots level, which is again derived from and aligned with our core values. So to summarize, values plays important role to build organization's identity. That's why they are important. Over to you, Sujata.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kalpana. Very simply put, but it was a very powerful statement. So thank you for sharing about why, your views on why values are important. So with that, I'll move to my next question. I'll direct it first to Saras ma'am, and then I'll move to Mr. Anshul. So Saras ma'am, please elaborate about the values journey in your company. How were they defined, arrived at, and what are some of the key interventions that you conduct around it? Ma'am, you're on mute. It's a constant jugglery between mute and unmute.
It is. Sorry. Thank you. See, Artemis got established in 2007, and it is our journey, values journey commenced right from day one. And it is completely and absolutely aligned with our vision statement. I'll read it out for you. Our vision says to create an integrated world-class healthcare system, fostering, protecting, sustaining, and restoring health through best-in-class medical practices and cutting-edge technology developed through an in-depth research carried out by the world's best scientific minds. So all our values with the acronym CREATE are all drawn from this vision statement. As you can see, care for customer. Our tagline is also, our specialty is you. That's what we tell to our patients. So we are totally customer oriented. Care for patients is our first value. Topmost priority is patient care. Then we have respect for associates. All our employees are just like a family. We just like a family. We respect each other tremendously. We come together in times of challenges, and that's why we've always done wonderfully well when there is some challenge, when there is some audit, when there is some test of our integrity. We always do amazing, wonderful performances. There is excellence through teamwork. We are a family. We have got different jobs to do, but we are all just like joining hands together to achieve the goal. So our aim is to achieve our goal with our best efforts in our area. And this is possible due to a very good team spirit amongst the family members. And we always deliver goods by this feeling of excellence through teamwork. We do not settle for anything below excellent. Whatever we do, step out for, we always do wonders. Always learning. We are not just a hospital. We are doing a lot of research work. We are always upskilling our techniques, our surgeons' skills. We are always upskilling our technology, machinery also. We've got the best in class machinery technology, and that is the aim, to provide the best services to the patients and community by large. We trust mutually. Trust is the foundation of any relationship. Be it, the complete ecosystem has to have a foundation of trust. The trust has to exist between employees and employer, between vendors, partners, our clients, of course, our customers, our patients. So this is the foundation, and all of our employees are very clear that we have, if management asks us to do something, we do it because we have complete trust. And the management also has a complete trust on its employees that they will not leave any stone unturned to achieve the results, come what may. And finally, the ethical practices in medical field. I mean, this is the most appropriate value which anybody can think of in today's scenario. So anybody who comes to Artemis as a patient, as an attendant, as a vendor, as a partner, as an investor, can be rest assured that we will only do ethical practices. Finances are important, but nothing is more important than ethical practices. And be normal times, be corona times, be difficult times, we have always stuck to our values, and we have, just like a good organization, a very matured organization, we have never taken shortcuts. We've always stuck by our values. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Saras ma'am. In fact, I can see one very common thing. The moment we are talking about values, the pride it's there in the voice, it's the pride that there's the shine on your faces because of the values, I think.
Thank
So
you so much.
I hope I'm correct on that. So the same question to Mr. Anshul, to you, your values journey, how were they arrived at? How were they defined? And what are some of the key interventions around it?
Thank you, Sujata. In fact, thanks for having me on this panel. And again, another thank you for giving me a break from the last 1 month or so from the QBinars. So thanks for managing it. You have been really astounding in terms of managing these QBinars. Thanks to Saras for having being with us for the second time and Kalpana for the first time. And it's not about the passion in Saras' voice; it's also in the Kalpana's voice also. So I can easily relate in terms of the work they have done in terms of the values and the values enrichment.
Mr. Anshul, your voice is a little, low. So if you could speak a little more loudly.
Okay. So am I audible better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. So Sujata, let me start by saying I think values in any organization are the bedrock of what the organization really stands for. To me, when I see values, it is really the gatekeepers of cultures of any organization. When we talk about culture of an organization, so what is the culture? As per me, if you can take care of your values, their percolation, and their adaptability within your organization ecosystem, 80% of your culture is through. So you don't really need to worry about culture if you are able to worry and probably hold on to your value ecosystem. I think that is very, very important. Speaking about us as an organization, we are into consulting. So it was very paramount to have values, not just for being on the play cards on the walls of the organizational offices, but more importantly, to let it flow within the culture and the DNA of the organization. We are a very small firm. You already are aware of Sujata and Kalpana and Saras also. So for us, culture was always very important. And to have that culture, I think the culture is the DNA, the values is the most important chemical base of the DNA. So we wanted to get started with that. When we started, we wanted to have a 4D model. Now, what is the 4D model now? That is something which we designed before we went ahead in terms of designing the values for us. That 4D model was that any value which we would finally agree on has 4 dimensions to it. One is it should be internally correct. So it shall not be too, I would say, divert, or there should be diversion from the internal operations and practices. Second, customers. Third, suppliers and partners. And the fourth, statutory. You cannot remain, I would say, you cannot have one set of values for one set of these dimensions. You should have values which should stick to all of these dimensions. Only then the values could really be practiced enough. A lot of organizations have integrity as a value, but the piece is that can the integrity, particularly in a scenario like India, can you have those practice across 4 dimensions? So I think these are some of the questions which were with us. How do you really have a 4-dimensional model? So that was the base start for us when we went ahead. This could also be used by a lot of organizations or the attendees which are listening to today's webinar as well. The second point which we really moved on was in terms of identifying the stakeholders and their roles. I still remember when me and my the HR team we were doing the values. So this was the second point which we went on in terms of identifying who all would be. For us, it was really easier because we were a small organization, so we covered everybody. So we got together everybody in a room for roughly around 4 to 5 sessions across 2 months. Come out with their thoughts. Everybody was given a task that these are the 4 dimensions. Anything which you come with that has to hold true for these 4. Now come and share your thoughts. So everybody contributed a lot. Once we were able to zero down, then we also did a survey. So doing a survey in a larger organization also creates a lot of sense. More importantly, because the more you try to have inputs, the more I would say belongingness of people who have contributed to that defining of values really made sense. You just read my profile. I have more than 2 decades of experience. I have worked across 3 organizations only, but long tenures. But of what all I have, I never got a chance to be a part of an organization where I was able to contribute my thoughts on values. So when you're designing your value and as a normal employee, it is a matter of a proud and a pride for you, wherein you are contributing as a value enabler for your organization. Very few times in your organization, I am having so much of experience. I have only got experience of doing values for my own company and probably for my client companies now. But as an employee, I never got any of the experience. That's a reality. Most of the people in the corporate world, they don't. So the whole idea for HRs of today is also to have a big basket wherein the more you take inputs from, the more you can play around in terms of imbibing those value around the line. I think these are also, these are some of the pieces. The last piece which we did and probably I would process is in terms of have some, I would say, secondary research or not a primary, but a secondary research of what and where your industry is. Understanding of your organization is very important, but equally important is the where your industry stands today. To have that broad-based perspective, even though it won't add more than 1 to 2% perspective, but that 1 or 2% is the real crux. So I think this is how we did for us creating values. And of course, these are some of the pieces which probably some of the attendees of these webinars can also take and implement.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Anshul. In fact, I do remember our journey of co-creating the values, because that's what we do. We did for ourselves, and we've been advocating for our clients also. And in fact, I remember, Anshul used to send us on this task of actually doing our homework, coming back and debating, discussing, deliberating. It was as important an intervention as a project that we would do for our clients. So I remember those days. It was quite interesting. So thanks for refreshing that. So with that, I'll move to my next question, and I'll first direct this question to Ms. Kalpana and then come to Mr. Anshul. Ms. Kalpana, what can organizations do to bring their values to life?
Thanks, Sujata. Such a relevant question nowadays, especially keeping this particular situation in mind. So I was going through this Gallup survey of 2016. Before I come to your query, or rather question, which says that what can organization do to bring their values to life? Isn't it, Sujata? That's what you said.
Yes.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, Ms. Kalpana. Hello. Ms. Kalpana, do we have you or did we lose connectivity?
Okay, okay. I have seen you nodding your hand, so which means I am audible. So I was going through this Gallup survey of 2016, which says that only 23% of employees strongly agreed that they could apply their organization's value to their work. And then mere 27% strongly agreed that they even believed in those values. So when I was going through this figure or other facts, then I realized that the activity which we did in 2017 might give some perspective, like how organizations can bring values to the life. So Sarah's another coincidence. So Linstrom India also started their operations in the year 2007. As far as Indian operations are concerned, we also started in the year 2007. So then what we did in 2017, we had this exercise based on values. We had done several workshops. So we have approximately 12 business units across India right now. So we had run this small workshop wherein all the employees were asked to share their understanding about values, what it meant to them, what it means to the customers even when they're dealing with them. And this particular exercise in form of intervention, in the form of training, you can say, in the form of one-on-one dialogue, which we had in the year 2017, really helped us to inculcate these values in everyone's life. So we got overall good feedback that most of these employees were able to correlate with organizational values and can see how they are applying in their day-to-day life. That can be one of the way. However, there are several ways it can be rewarding and promoting values at every stage, starting from hiring, induction, on-job training, even during exit interviews, L&D, PMS. So building a workforce that lives and works by the company moral code. So another example can be live and lead by example. Leaders are always being watched. Setting core values and then failing to abide by them is the worst than not establishing core values at all. So maybe if organizations really want to start from the scratch, they should start it from the hiring process itself. Like that will definitely help to inculcate values from the initial stages itself. So that's it from my side, Sujata.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Kalpana. So the same question to Mr. Anshul. What can organizations do to bring their values to life?
A lot. One line answer. But what all they can do, I would say, first of all, stop seeing values as a launch. It's not a marketing launch. It is something which is a journey you have to live and enrich your ecosystem daily with your values. Three more points I would quickly make. I think you have to make them the front and center of your journey. They should guide all aspects of your business, your complex business making decisions of where your tenant is headed, where you as an organization are headed. It should also be a mix of substance and symbolism. Uh, Most of the times, either we get too much into substance or we get too much into symbolism. And now, I would give you an example. At Creating Values, we celebrate our values every, I would say, year. So the day the values were launched, so we celebrate that as a value day. On that day, there's a R&R, there is an annual reward for the values enrichment, which professional really enabled the organizational values or took that. So these are some of the piece which is in terms of symbolism. And in terms of substance, the substance is in terms of the way the organization has percolated it down the line into the various HR ecosystems, like Kalpana was saying, that you really have to have a more wider implementation of these value-enabled pieces. One of the biggest worry I see in some of the organizations, I won't say in all, but I would say in some of the organizations, that while designing or defining the values or some of the key HR attributes, there is no correlation between the vision, the values, the competencies. I have seen and worked for those organizations where there was no, I would say, similarity. What Saras was saying initially in one of the responses, I think I really smiled on it, because there are very few organizations who have that linkage between their vision and their values. And then it flows down the line in terms of how does your value even flow down to the organizational, I would say, PMS, to the individual KRA of an individual. I think that is also very important. And that will flow through competencies. So everything has to get aligned to make it just like a heart. Your veins and arteries have to really work together, and values is that ecosystem which binds everybody together. This was my first point, that they have to be really at the center. The second is in terms of hiring. Your hiring should be very fantastic. Kalpana also touched this point prior to me, and I would just simply take one example. It's a very famous industry example, not cooked by me, but that really happened. When Cyrus Mistry was moved out of Tata, the Tata Group issued a statement that there was no culture alignment. Now, I was very surprised as an individual, as a professional, as I was the chief people officer of the organization at that time. How come even after having somebody at the top, you are, after so many period, you realize that there was no culture alignment? Now, that is Tata. Think about other organizations. Initially part I said, if you take care of your values in life, your culture is 80% taken care of. Similarly, is hiring. If you do enough stringent hiring before you hire professionals, particularly at senior levels, I would say if you do a values-based assessment at the time of your hiring, majority of these issues could be easily taken care of. So hiring is a very, very key important piece. The third is, I would say, is the leadership. The role of the leadership. Kapil also initially touched it. Leadership is very important. You should really practice what you preach. Leadership is all about being transparent. Leadership is all about communicating enough. So I would say that is important. And the fourth is in terms of, are you rewarding enough, or it's too much of a reprimand within the organization? So reward and recognition culture also needs to be brought in. I think if, and there are multiple other ways. Percolation, you could have multiple levels. PMS is an area where you could percolate. Your competencies are an area where you could percolate. Your career progression, your IGP, your succession planning. You might be having a fantastic person to replace you as a leader, but probably he is not fit for one of the values. Now, what do you do? So these are some of the intricacies which would come in as you go on, but these are, I would say, pieces I thought I would probably say. Over to you, Suja.
Thank you, Mr. Anshul. In fact, both of our speakers have now touched upon the percolation part. We will come back to this part because this is a very important factor to be discussed at length and not just touching upon it. So we will come back to the percolation part of the values through the employee life cycle. But prior to that, let's address the elephant in the room, the current pandemic that we are in. So I will ask two of our lady speakers, Saras ma'am and Ms. Kalpana, that during these difficult times, how have your organizational core values helped you? Or rather, the organization. So, Saras ma'am, if you could share your views first, and then we could move to Ms. Kalpana.
Okay, sure. It's a pleasure. So, I think everybody's got affected, but we've been managing lives and livelihoods both as a hospital. So, we faced the biggest brunt being a healthcare. Our employees, initially there was a lot of fear factor, but then we are into healthcare, we have to heal people. So the first and foremost challenge was to keep the employees motivated enough, be fearless. There has to be no cloud of doubt in the mind that our organization is behind us to keep us safe. And once they are free in their mind with this thought that there's no harm happening to them, then they'll be freely able to take care of the patients. So that's where our values came in very handy. Trust mutually, excellence through teamwork, ethical practices. We provided all possible equipments, all possible facilities to our staff, so that they are free from their home front, they are free from their health front, and they can just focus on their core responsibility of patient care. In order to just to show that how valued they are for us, just to show how much do we respect them, in spite of the businesses not doing so well, we still started incentivizing the people, the doctors, nurses, paramedical staff who were doing duties in the COVID ward. So not that because of this incentive they were doing it, but we felt like honoring them. We felt like gratifying instantly the contribution they were making. That's why we started this incentivization for them. Even otherwise, they were fully motivated to do it, because that's how our values have an impact on the psyche of our employees. And we've done a lot of activities to take care of their mental health and welfare also. So we've had various stress management sessions. And since new practices had to be followed, new protocols, as soon as COVID came, it caught us snapping, I should say. So overnight, new protocols had to be created. So our medical services, our doctors, they created immediately, like within no time, they changed all the protocols. The passage for the infected patient has to be different from the passage for staff and other normal patients. All these small things, but they are time consuming, they need effort, they need energy. And we were all together to ensure that things are done at war footing, and we achieved the desired results. So much so, the managements of 3 hospitals together came forward and they pooled in resources. I would name them also Artemis, Fortis, and Medanta. We pooled in our resources and we created a COVID hospital at Meteor at Manesar by pooling in resources and ensuring that COVID patients are treated over there and our hospitals do not have as many COVID patients so that our non-COVID patients are free with this thought that we are going to a COVID-free zone and we will not come back getting infected rather than getting treated. Similarly, now we are also doing something like that. This fear is still there and it's going to continue in the minds of people, however, whatever precautions we take and however we tell them over social media and over all personal interaction and Zoom sessions that we're taking all possible precautions to keep you safe from COVID, and we will treat your hip surgery or your knee surgery, or we'll take care of your delivery without any such hassle. But still this fear is going to take years to go out of our minds. So for mothers and to-be mothers, we were opening a separate section. We've hired a building. And all this I want to mention here because these decisions are not easy decisions. When the revenues are not the same as they were prior to COVID and the management is ready to invest into such projects, it speaks about the boldness and the brave decisions that the management is taking. So we're investing in another hospital, small hospital, which is going to be a state-of-the-art mother and child center where only non-COVID patients will be treated. So these are the times, and our employees have voluntarily taken salary cuts in this time, and these are still continuing. These are some factors which we are really proud of. These make us stand tall that our employees, without any objection, without saying a word, they've been cooperating with us so far. So all of us, like many other industries, have suffered losses in the last quarter, but then our employees have supported us very well, extremely well, and I really salute them for this and really proud of them. So that's how we've been able to tide over the pandemic, and God willing, we will be able to come back to normalcy very soon, thanks to our employees, thanks to our strong culture, and thanks to our core values.
Thank you, Saras ma'am. In fact, rightly said, core values, this is what we've been talking about, that core values ultimately help you in decision making. So it could be the most toughest of decision that an organization might have to take. All you have to do is look at your values, consult them, and accordingly, you would see which would be the right way forward. And then all of your stakeholders, be it your customers, be it your employees, they would be a part of your journey, especially when it comes to the core values of the organization. So Ms. Kalpana, the same question to you, that during this pandemic, how have the core values helped the organization?
So Sujata, I say my core values, I've given a definition to it, which is like PEARL, P-E-R-L. So P means profitable growth, E means enthusiasm and joy of learning, R means responsibility, and L means long-term relationship. So PEARL is equal to we care culture for us. So definitely, I'm also not ashamed to say that this was the most difficult time of my own personal career as well, when we saw such kind of a pandemic in this particular unprecedented times right now, what we call it. So the moment lockdown was announced, we have our frontline workers, also frontline staff, I think, which is approximately 70% of our manpower, our strength. So some of them, they started feeling little insecure. Why? Because they are the migrant workers and the government was also luring them with so many benefits. And then they thought that let us go back to our hometowns. So let me tell you that hardly 5 or 10% of them thought to go back to their hometowns. Rather, what happened even to them also, we started giving them a call, personal call to them, to their families, and within a couple of a week they started coming to office and started to say that we are feeling more safe in the office rather than at home. So that is how we thought that this is the time wherein we cannot give up on our values. Our value defines our culture, and we always proudly say that we have a we care culture. So this is the time to show that care. So as Saras mentioned, so in our company, we are supporting essential service providers. We are providing workwear solution on rent to all the corporates, including hospitals, including pharmaceutical companies, including food manufacturers, FMCG. So we had to run the operations during this last 5 months also. So we did had a hit of as far as the business impact is concerned, we also had a hit because few of our customers who were already shut down. Obviously, you cannot give them send them the deliveries because their plants are shut, and then also we did not do even a single person salary cut. Rather, the top management took the entire brunt. They voluntarily came in front and said that we will take a salary cut rather than our frontline staff member is taking even as rather than deducting it from their salary, even a single rupee. Rather, we started giving them immunity booster kits. We started giving them incentives, like Saras mentioned. So I think within couple of days, we were again back to the normal. Then this lockdown word was just a word for all of us in the company. It did not then deter our confidence. In next couple of months, we had so many lockdown 1, lockdown 2, lockdown 3. So then I think we became used to it. So I salute to my team, my employees. I think the way they stood up with all of us and the way they supported us, hats off to them. Why? Because as I told you, 70% of our staff is a blue collar worker, is a staff because of which we are here today, because they are there at the field. That is the reason we are able to serve the customers. So that is the proud moment for us. In last 5 months, we were not were not able to take any kind of a step which was not employee friendly. Rather, we did everything whatever our we care culture says. Then we started to have awareness programs related to COVID-19. So I clearly remember that in the month of April, then the moment we started to heard about this word COVID-19 so closely to our ears, so we started to have these health talks. We invited professional doctors to talk about COVID-19, what kind of precautions one should take. So we organized it throughout India for 700 employees for all 12 locations via digital medium. And then subsequently, we had another session on well-being. We had another session on benefits of yoga in June. Then we had another session on mental health and stress in July. So every day we are keeping a health status tracker of each and every employee. So in HR, we make sure that each and every employee is keeping safe in the organization. Even we are doing random audits in which we are seeing that whether the delivery boy who is delivering at customers and wearing all those PPEs or not. Is he just because the weather is quite hot in some of the cities, be it Delhi, be it Mumbai. So I myself went to one of the customer place just to check that whether he's taking care of his own health also or not, whether he's wearing the PPEs or not while serving to FMCG customers or essential service providers. So I was proud to see that he was wearing all the PPEs. Rather, he was showing me that, ma'am, sanitizer bhi hai. I have the sanitizer also. You didn't ask for it. I was mesmerized with such kind of support from my team members and from my staff and from all of our employees. And rather, their families started giving us a call and telling us that how beautifully we are taking care of their family members. So then we arranged even reskilling sessions. So most of our employees are used to visiting customers face to face. Now, another challenge during this pandemic, like how to make them understand that now they cannot visit customers' premises. However, the sales has to go on. However, the other functions have to perform, have to come back to the normal life, but there should be a way. Then we had organized couple of training sessions, rather than 15 L&D workshops, which we have organized in last 3 months for all of our employees, for all of the functions. Apart from well-being, we focus towards reskilling and upskilling. 101 Connect, which I just shared, daily calls to all employees to check about their personal well-being, random safety of audits, then fun activities sometimes to just manage the stress. then weekly health status call with all the managers across India. Even till date, we are following it, and they were also letting us know that we are quite surprised with the consistency. We thought that now you will stop, now you will stop. I said, till the time we don't have a vaccine, till the time the situation is not normal, you would have to see our faces every week. We are definitely concerned about your health. Then twice a week call with all the business heads to understand about the updates on business continuity plan, which is also very, very important. And then health status of each and every employee. So these all are aligned with our core values, and our core values kept us on our toes while implementing all these initiatives. As you rightly mentioned, Sujata, once your core values are defined, then there is no other way. You have to stick to your core values. So if you don't stick to your core values, when they are being tested, they are not values, they are hobbies. So that's what I read somewhere. So that's it from my side, Sujata.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Kalpana. In fact, both of the speakers, you've spoken beautifully about, how do we care about our employees during these testing times, talks about the organization. And it is very rightly said, just take care of your employees and they will take care of your customers. So it is something so simple, yet, it gets complicated when we speak about this externally in industrial jargons. So thank you for putting it across so simply. I remember, even with Saras ma'am, that we coordinated and we conducted a session for the Artemis healthcare workers and even the support staff. I could realize that, it was a humbling experience for Mr. Anshul and me when we were conducting that. But I realized that somehow they were so energized and motivated by just such a humble attempt that we had made in addressing their real issues that they were facing during the pandemic. And they started, appreciating us for whatever we were saying. And we were really surprised
They
because
really
we were.
got galvanized. You galvanized our workforce is the word.
Thank you. Thank you, Saraswati. You're always kind. And then there are so many other organizations that with whom we've been working for virtual employee engagement, because that is such is the time, everything has to be virtually, but that doesn't mean that your engagement, your motivation, whatever interventions you conduct, that should anyway take a back seat. Rather, now is the time to put more force over it and keep it continuous. So that's something that all HR leaders and business leaders who might have joined us today for this webinar can take a note of. And just a reminder, please keep sending in your questions for our speakers. This is an amazing opportunity to understand even the practical viewpoints when it comes to core values of an organization. So with that, I will move to my next question, which is quite a practical one, because we've been talking about percolation of values. So I'll direct this question first to Ms. Kalpana, and then I'll move to Mr. Anshul. Ms. Kalpana, how can organizations and HR ensure effective percolation of values through employee life cycle, right from recruitment, induction, training, employee engagement, PMS, R&R, etc.? If you could elaborate more on it.
This is quite an extensive question, Sujata. So let me just be a little brief if I can, if you allow. I'll try to be. So if we start with hiring, first of all, we must start it with hiring rather. So value-based hiring is nothing just to focus not only about employee experience, but your cultural fit, as Anshul was also mentioning a couple of minutes back. So I do remember my interaction with one of the candidate who was applying for a very senior position in my organization, and it is a recent experience. Like 3 months back, I was taking that interview over phone, and he somehow sounded very arrogant over the call, and I failed to understand that why is he so arrogant with me, and why is he not responding to the query right away. And believe me, he was the right fit as far as the experience is concerned, as far as his background is concerned, the kind of candidate we were looking forward for. He had all the qualificational criteria. He was matching all the qualificational criteria, or educational qualification, or experience, whatever you call it. But then after an hours of discussion, I thought that no, it's not only about arrogance. There were a couple of more points which I noticed during that interaction. And then I thought that no, he may not be the right cultural fit for us. So I straightforwardly had a word with my line manager who sits in Finland. I spoke to him and I told him that he might not be a right cultural fit. So without even a single doubt, he trusted my words, and rather he told me that he was the resume looks to be very impressive to me, Kalpana. How can you say that he's like not fitting into the culture? He just asked me quite casually, but I gave him the explanation still. And he was laughing. He said that I believe you and don't worry. Let us not consider this candidate. So this is how we have taken even tough call also in our careers. So it doesn't matter if a candidate matches all the criteria, but if he's not a cultural fit, if your instinct is saying that he may not be the right fit for the organization, please do not hire. So that would be my first advice to everyone. This is what I'm talking about from my personal experience. And then coming to training and development. So just do not outsource for the heck of it. If you're hiring any training and development organization or external trainer for that matter, please try to understand that whether they follow the same values, whether they actually understand the values of your organization or not. So I still remember that a couple of years back, we had partnered with one of the trainer, and it took us 6 months. It took him also to 6 months to understand our business and everything. And then after 6 months, we got the confidence that he is the right person. And that's how we started our training program. And since then, he is the only trainer who's arranging so many workshops in our organization. And people are quite satisfied with his interventions, with his knowledge and with his conduct. So even for training and development also, let us be very careful what kind of organization we are getting associated with. Similarly, I would say that ask for feedback and provide feedback also to your employees if you really want to see that where you stand. So recently we had our Pulse survey. So during this pandemic, we thought that let us just quickly check what our employees are thinking about us. So you again be surprised that we got, I think, 69% as far as our eNPS score is concerned, and which was again the best amongst the group as far as the current situation is concerned. So it is always good to get the feedback and then provide a feedback also to your employees. Core values exist in every workplace. Your organization's culture is partially the outward demonstration of the values currently existing in your workplace. The question you need to ask is whether these existing values are creating the workplace you desire. By implementing these values into every aspect of your business, including training, you are making sure that the development of your employees and your company are in line with the true mission of your organization. Then employee engagement. We had so many activities in last couple of months, but we always thought that these are our core values. How can we align our engagement activities with our core values? So as I mentioned a couple of minutes back, that one of our core values is enthusiasm and joy of learning. So we saw people were in so much of stress, so we started having spontaneous sessions with them, like having a coffee with HR. We used to ask about their personal life, then we used to put random questions to them, a funny one, and they would reply with humor, and they used to share their experiences with us that after so long I laughed so much. So such kind of experience should also be shared, or rather thought about, basis your values. And then R&R, recognize and reward value centric behavior. So we have PMS system in which there is a sheet which clearly talks about we care behavior. So there are many ways to recognize and reward value-centric behaviors. It can be including sport bonuses, peer voting opportunities that gives employees the opportunity to nominate co-workers for successfully living the values, and then written recognition in newsletters or on the website. So maybe if we can focus on all these points which you mentioned in your question itself, Sujata: hiring, training and development, EE, PMS, R&R, then I think that you need not to worry about employees, and then you need not to worry about your customers also, in nutshell. I think half of these answers have already been given by Anshul in the previous session. I don't know what he'll add or what Saras will add now. It may be a little difficult for her, but over to you now, Sujata.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Kalpana. Mr. Anshul, let's see. Ms. Kalpana has already said, let's see what you have to add when we talk about percolation of values through the employee life cycle. How should it be done effectively?
Sujata, there is a long list, and I would share some of the pieces I have done, and I have enabled along with my team for multiple organizations. But prior to that, I would say even before I get into all this, I think there are a couple of two important things which we should keep in mind before we start talking about percolation. I would say first and foremost, I think user awareness. Are your employees really aware of your values? Or we feel that they are aware of our values? I think this is two different things. We feel that our employees know that, okay, these are our value systems. But do they really know? Because the problem or the challenge becomes is that there is too much of a operational workloads on every employee that they at times it's natural that I would probably miss or I would forget, despite it being on the fantastic wooden play cards over the corridors of the offices or the organizational places. It is very, very important to have refresher courses about the values to the employees. I think that is first. And the second is that is personal to me. And sorry, Kalpana, and sorry, there is nothing offensive to you. But eventually, I have seen that as HR professionals, I think HR fraternity is itself very not so apt in terms of branding itself. That goes in line with the values also within multiple organizations. You need to constantly brand about the work you do. I think that is something which would really emphasize a lot of effort on the values also, and also related to the other interventions. There are multiple pieces. So, Jata, coming to your question per se, recruitment is one, induction, onboarding could be another. In recruitment, I would say it's not about the values assessment. The values assessment I talked about that you should do some assessments on the values. It also how do you brand yourself. Today's generation is very different than probably what me, Kalpana, or Saras when we would have started our career. At that point of time, there was nothing like a Google or a internet. Today's generation, when they come to join some place, they really are focused. They want to know the organization upside down. Now, what sort of pieces we are getting to know? At times, there is a values visible on the website. Probably that's about it, but nothing beyond it. How do we really make that? What these values really stand for? So I think the branding of the values is very, very important in recruitment. People should join you and try to see for themselves that whether they can get aligned with the values of your organizations also. I think that's a very crucial aspect. The second aspect is in terms of induction. When I talk about induction onboarding, the employee handbook should talk about stories of the values ecosystem. Some of the pieces the organizational leadership lived with or didn't live with at all. They didn't compensate it. Saras was talking about that we are very strong in terms of ethical. Organizations like her need to have employee handbook which talk about incidences, real based incidences of the values with which they upheld at those very instances. So these are some of the pieces I think employee engagement Kalpana talk about. So I won't talk about PMS. I already have talked about that. It should flow from a organizational KPI to individual KRA. How do you really ensure that? R&R I have talked about. So these are some of the ways. The list is long. But I would say, I hope me and Kalpana have done good justice to the question you had asked, Sujata, and with that I rest my thought.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Anshul. In fact, this certainly reminds me of the one of the complex projects I would call it. Although when we talk about values, people think they are very simplistic in nature, but rather it was a very complex project that we had conducted for one of our clients in from the BFSI industry, and that client was so progressive right from the start that it's not just defining the values, but they went a step ahead. They said, no, let's also derive the behaviors, because just by saying that follow integrity from tomorrow onwards, integrity would have different meaning for different people, and I'm sure the meaning that Saras ma'am would hold, even I would fall short of it. So that is why it was important to define behaviors, make it simple for your employees to understand what do you mean by that value. because they have their own set of personal values. Then they might have joined your organization from another organization which had its own values. So how is it that you are bringing everyone on the same platform, giving them a common understanding of your values and making it simple for them to practice those values and not just memorizing them? So that's the whole point, that ultimately the values are, when an employee behaves in a certain manner, is when an external entity can say that yes, Artemis Hospitals or Lindstorm Group or creating values, yes, they do stand for these values because I actually interacted with an employee who behaved in a certain manner. So that is why defining behaviors can become the first step. And then that organization went ahead and they made us, create frameworks for them for the entire population. So that was one of our very critical projects and one of the milestone projects that I had been a part of. So with that, let's move to our final question, and I'll direct that question first to Ms. Saras and then I will go to Mr. Anshul. So Saras ma'am, some HR professionals also talk about a relative size and scale to be achieved before they have their values defined. What are your views on it?
Okay, very interesting question. And I'm little surprised also, how does it come to the minds of people that we'll start creating our values when we are 100 people old? I really feel a little surprised hearing this question. Yes, it could be crossing some people's mind, but as far as I am concerned, I feel we cannot wait for a benchmark to start creating values. Identifying and understanding our core values has to happen since inception, and it's a very challenging task, I must tell you. It's a very important exercise, and I think creating values is doing a wonderful job at it. They have the complete insight and they are experts, what should I say, experts in the field.
Yeah, and like I said, you've always been kind. Thank you.
No, that's a fact. So any company's core values are a central part of the principles of your company and will always convey where you want to go and how you will get there. So we do have to start from the very beginning. We can't start after covering some distance and then we plan to start creating our values. That's my thought. So by becoming more aware of these important factors in your company, we can use them as a guide to make the best choices in any situation. Some businesses and life decisions are really about determining what you or your company value most. When many options are reasonable, it is always helpful and comforting to rely on your values and use them as a strong guiding force to point you in the right direction. So as far as my thought process goes, I will not wait for any size or scale to start creating values. It has to happen with the inception of the company. Thank you.
Yes, actually, that is what what you've said is bang on. Yes, rather, if your organization becomes of a certain size, won't it become chaotic to then think about defining your values and then suddenly trying to tutor all the employees that this is what we are. And this is what from here on you have to live by. So, Mr. Anshul, your views on it? Does size, scale matter when it comes to having a project like defining your values for the organization?
First of all, I would like to thank Saras for, I was counting, she took the name of creating values 3 times in the last question. So that really tells how close she bonds with you and me and creating values. So thank you, Saras. It's a very interesting question, Sujata, you pointed to me because I am the person who named creating values as creating values on the day one. So that's another great piece about it. But yes, having said so, I really, for me, it's a very laughable argument I often get into. And Saras, it's not something. Of course, you are in an organization. When I or Sujata or our colleagues work with a lot of clients, so we come across this question too often in terms of, do we have that correct size and scale? So it's a very laughable argument because there is no two views about it. At least I don't have a view about it. Why do you want to have people come into your organization and then after a period of when you are 100 people old or probably 5 years old, then you want to have, by that time the damage would have been done. Values is all about binding people coming from different individual values. into a set of values. That is called organizational core values. So there is no question about it. There is no if and there is no when. It has to happen. The sooner you do, irrespective of the size and the scale, you should go for it. That's my point, Sujata.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Anshul. So from here on, we'll be moving to our Q&A session. We had pre-received certain questions from our registered attendees. You know, some are very, forthcoming when it comes to sending questions for our speakers. So we had pre-received certain questions. But prior to that, just a reminder to all of our attendees that please do join us on 14th of August. That is on next Friday at 4 p.m. and listen to technology and business leaders when they talk about the digital transformation journey that they themselves have embarked upon, and that, what are certain learnings that we can take a note of from their observations, from their experience, and then maybe think about how we within our own organizations should think about our own digital transformation journey. So please register for it and join us on 14th of August at 4 p.m. With that, let's move to the Q&A session for today. I'll direct, we've pre-received several questions, so I'll be directing some of the key ones one by one to our speakers. So first question I'll direct to Ms. Kalpana. Ms. Kalpana, how important is it for the leaders to walk the talk when it comes to values? A very tricky question that you have to answer live on YouTube.
I clearly mentioned during the session itself that leaders have to lead by example, Sujata. Otherwise, you cannot run your values at the speed you want. You cannot run your business at the speed you want. So leaders are always being watched. So they have to. So I can give you an example of what recently happened. So 2 months back, there is a colleague of mine who lost his father. And we all arranged everything so that he can meet his father, because that colleague was from a different city and his parents were staying in a different city. So we were doing everything. All the leaders, we had a call and we...
Kalpana, your voice is cracking. I mean, rather it's echoing. So just for a second, if you could mute and then unmute yourself once again, and then let's check. Yeah, could you do a test?
Better?
Yeah, it's better. I mean, the echo was too loud. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Good. So yeah. So then that was the one of the most difficult situation which we were into. Why? Because this particular employee of ours was very, very important for us at that particular point, because he was serving our one of the biggest customer, and that customer is again running in that particular vaccine manufacturer list. So he's still there in that list. So we are serving to that particular customer. I'm talking about that particular customer. So then this particular employee called me up and he said that his father passed away. And now we did not think even for a single second. We just had a word internally. And we arranged everything for that particular employee, that he can go and visit his father and do all the rituals. To my surprise, Sujata, after arranging everything for him, he came to me the next day, to my colleague rather, and told me that I don't want to go, because if I go, who will serve this customer? So at that particular time, if as leader we thought that no, this employee is very much important and there is a lockdown, we cannot allow him to go back to his family and to do all the last minute rituals, believe me, then we would not have been doing justice to our VCare culture and our values. So leaders have to walk the talk. So that's what I can say with a very simple example. So if we can walk the talk, then it is very easy to implement values, or rather to live your life with all those values which you have defined, not only for your organization, but for yourself as well. So this is the example which came into my mind, experience rather, live experience.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Kalpana. So the next question I'll direct it to Saras ma'am. So when should organizations revisit their values, like redefining the values?
It's a very pertinent question. I think it is not a one-time exercise that we've created values and then we started living and we forgot about the same. like Kalpana was saying, and it's very important to keep doing some kind of surveys, small surveys, to find out if the employees feel that the values make them feel good about themselves and about their organization. Are they proud of their values? We have to keep assessing. Are they comfortable and they feel that their people who visit our website, who get to come to our office and see the values on our walls, are really feel, they really feel that we translate that behavior in ourselves? Those kind of questions should cross our minds, and we should keep revisiting. I would say maybe every couple of years in the existence, we should keep revisiting, and we should be open to keep modifying if the need be. I am of that opinion that we should keep revisiting our values, and if we keep getting that trust, that confidence, yes, we are on the right track, and at the same time we should be flexible to modify if the need be with the time.
Sure. Thank you, Saras ma'am.
Just
And
can-
yes,
can
rightly.
Sujata,
Yes,
can I add to what Saras just said? I think
please.
Saras made some pertinent points. I would add to some of a couple of pointers on it. I think organization should probably keep the key business alignments also in mind while they decide on the timing of it. So one could be in terms of, hypothetically, you find out that the 30% of the workforce has been added to the organization in the last 3 years. Now they really don't know what was set established 10 years back. So you really need to see these pieces. The second could be in terms of diversification of business. So hypothetically, tomorrow Artemis, I'm just taking for example of Artemis, probably Artemis hypothetically goes into e-commerce. Now the trades which are required in that industry is probably very different than what is in the current industry. So your diversification, your employee mix, these all business decisions really should probably come into the mind while deciding the, I would say, revisit of the values. Generally, it should be ideally 5 to 7 years or 5 to 10 years.
Sure. Thank you, Mr.
I
Anshul.
can add to Anshul, when we redefined values a couple of years back, believe me, Anshul, it was again very refreshing for me as well. It's been 6 years I'm in the organization. I also thought that, hey, I didn't think like this. So I can totally agree with you. In fact, I was also about to add this. So there are so many employees who are joining recently in last couple of months or a year or 2 years time. So maybe though we might be taking care of it during our induction, but it's still important to redefine values now and then. At least I cannot define the duration, but it should be.
Sure. Thank you, speakers. So in fact, one of our questions has been directed to Mr. Anshul. And I think the sender wanted to make your life difficult. So can strong corporate values ever lead to bad business decisions? And how can it be avoided?
Can you repeat again, Sujata?
Can strong corporate values ever lead to bad business decisions? And how can it be avoided?
Oh, certainly. There is no guarantee. I think it is good that you are failing. Trust me, whether you have a value or doesn't have a value, at least you are trying doing something. So if a decision goes wrong, no problem. Learn from it. Those who fail have to stand up. I think that's the best of it. In my mind, I would say values, and this reminds me of one of incidents which happened even before Sujata, you had joined. So it was in a very, very initial year. So one of our consultants, he was working in an organization for some client at that point of time. And he was to do something, he communicated something else. Though there was no impact on the client, but then the client took on himself, how could you say something and do something? And that's really, at that point of time, it was in terms of a miscommunication which happened, or I would say totally different communication which happened. Now, we had a value of a communication, but we also had a value of integrity of action. When I got a call from the client, your person has said this and something else has been happened. So now what? So one of our values is integrity of action, and that says admit when wrong. I admitted that, yes, we made a mistake and we have lessons to learn. But rest assured, we would be, if you want, we can close the project and we won't even ask for a fees, because this is the first blunder ever being caused by any one of us. If you want, we can have that. If you want, if you still have faith on us, we can very well deliver it. And no need for any of the other pieces. And it's totally up to you. Today, with that customer, we have a 5+ years of a relationship. So even one value derailed us, was onto the brink of it, but the second value of admitting when wrong. So I would just go back to the first of my points which I shared. Always have a 4-dimensional model in place. Does that value hold good for all of those 4 aspects? Your internal, your customers, your suppliers, and your statutory bodies. Never have values or behaviors which are more intrinsic. It should hold true for all. Only then they would see the test of the times. And it is natural. Most of the times your decisions would go wrong. Don't defer. Your values are your bedrock. They would guide you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Anshul. So the next question. Okay, so the next question has been directed to Ms. Kalpana. So Ms. Kalpana, what are the direct benefits of value-based culture that you have personally observed?
The commitment from the employees, equally, I think commitment towards employer, commitment towards customers, which I think Anshul was talking about. So during this pandemic time, even we all stood up together and we were jointly saying that we are there for you. So which really helped each one of us to go forward in this difficult time as well. So such kind of commitment always yields to results, which Anshul is talking about. Maybe your values might not be able to give those benefits, business benefits, which you're looking forward for right now, but this is not a short-term goal. When you're defining your values, it has to be long-term, and then definitely you will reap out the benefits. So commitment, employees trust, and which really helped us to increase our business, expand our business. So in 2007, we started our operations in India. Today, it's been 13 years and we are having presence in 11 cities, 12 business units, 700 employees. Every year, we are adding 100, 200 employees. Rather, we were planning to have 1,000 employees by end of this year. And we're still sticking to that particular goal. Let's see how it goes. However, we did not laid off even a single employee. So rather, the entire brunt was taken by the top level management. So in nutshell, commitment and trust has really been the benchmark there as far as the business results are concerned.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Kalpana. The next question is for Saras ma'am. So Saras ma'am, as an HR leader, do you feel unease about the gap between the values, how they are expressed on paper, and rather how they are practiced by the employees? And if yes, if you feel that that does happen, then what are the possible reasons for that gap?
Hi, Sujata. Yes, there could be a situation wherein the true meaning of the value has not been translated into the behavior of the employees. But I think the HR and the leaders should take the ownership if such a gap exists, and we have to take all measures to remove that. Reasons could be many. As Kalpana was saying, it could be maybe a wrong hire in terms of culture fit. Maybe, as Anshul was saying, he has come from an organization which had a very different set of values, and it takes an individual some time to get aligned to the current ones. So this is how it is, why it is important that the values are percolated at every level, consistently at every level, at every stage of life cycle of an employee. Then only these gaps will gradually get bridged. And the sooner, the better. And we all have to put an effort, the HR team and the leadership, because everybody emulates their leaders. So every HOD, every team leader, maybe a leader of a smaller group, but every person who's leading a bunch of people is a leader, and he or she has to live the values, and people will definitely emulate them, and then it automatically percolates down to the grassroots level. That's what I feel.
Sure. Thank you, Saras ma'am. So we are here with our last question for today's session. That question has been directed to Anshul, and I can understand why. The question is, do you think a third party perspective helps in better understanding values percolation?
whoever has
So
said
now
this.
you have to advocate for us, please.
Okay. I would say on a very unbiased way, not just because I represent a consulting firm. I would say third-party perspective add value in everything you do. Even if you are going to buy a house, you just don't want to rely on a dealer. So you want to have opinions from the people who are living across the street. You just want to show it to somebody to seek your opinion. So third-party perspectives is everywhere. As regards to values, I think we need to understand values as a intervention in itself. Uh, any third party who would come and probably add a perspective to your defining of values is not going to create your values. I think that is first and foremost. What do you feel? What do you believe as an organization, as a management, as a leadership team, as a employees have to be communicated by you only. The third party would come, assemble it, put together, and most importantly, it would help drive a consensus within the organization. I think that the role of the third party is very limited. It would drive consensus. It would have more structure coming into place in terms of more scientific pieces coming into place in terms of defining values. It would also help do a lot of research, which would be add more muscle to it. The fourth, I would say, is in terms of more customizations could be brought in. That is something which is our USP, but I'm just talking about in terms of a lot of customizations could be brought in. Third party perspective is limited to only these 3-4 areas. But yes, it's up to the organization only because ultimately all the inputs have to be given. And Kalpana was saying that last year they did, or a couple of years back they did. I'm sure all the inputs were of Lindstrom only. So any third party wouldn't have done much, barring these 3-4 pieces I have added. So these 3-4 pieces, if are crucial to any organization, they should have a third party perspective. Otherwise, I would say they can do it.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Anshul. Yes, a third party or an independent party is ultimately just the facilitator, and that is why it is termed as co-creation of values. And finally, an independent party can help you with regards to percolation because they could help you in answering a very simple question for your employees: what's in it for me? The moment you answer what's in it for me, half of your problems are done away with because they would themselves practice those values because they would understand the practicality of it, how their work gets impact, how their behaviors get impact, and what is it that they are getting out of practicing these values. So that is where a third party can facilitate the entire process for you. So with that,
and if any of the audience wants to know which is the best third party, Sujata can have an answer.
well, Anshul, right now they are looking at the third party, so I think we can let that slide. So with that, we are close to an end, and all the questions from the participants that we had received have been answered by all of our able and esteemed speakers here. I take this opportunity to now thank all of our attendees who have joined us on YouTube. And in case you wish to view the recorded version of any of our previous webinars or of today's session, please feel free to get in touch with us, and we will, share the link to the recorded version. And do join us on 14th of August for our next webinar, Supercharging Your Digital Transformation Journey. With that, I now take this opportunity to thank our speakers. First of all, during these troubling times, even giving your dedicated time for a session like this is valuable for us. So thank you for that. And to top it all with your experience, your learnings, your observations, your insights, that is like just heaven to spend this time with you. So thank you so much, Saras ma'am, Ms. Kalpana, and Mr. Anshul, for sharing your learnings with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sujata, for a wonderfully moderated session. And thank you, Saras and Kalpana, for being over here.
Thank you, all of you. We've learned a lot today, and it was a pleasure, absolute pleasure. I spent a very good 1.5 hours with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was such a wonderful session, Sujata. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share the stage again with Saras and Anshul. I don't know, somehow Kunal was coming into my mind, one of my colleague. So good. Yeah, Anshul.
Okay.
Thank you so very much. It was such a wonderful experience.
Thank you so much. So with this, this is Creating Values Cubinars Friday signing off for today. Hope to meet you on 14th of August. That is next week. Thank you.